Silicon Valley real estate is being repriced right now. Not in a year, not next quarter, right now. And here's the part that nobody on Zillow, Redfin, or your neighbor's group chat is telling you. The thing moving the prices in 2026 is not interest rates. It's not the spring market. It's 5 changes happening at the exact same time, and most homeowners I talk to don't even know 4 of them. I'm Michael Rulfs, third-generation Silicon Valley real estate agent at Coldwell Banker. I was born in Mountain View, grew up in Almaden, have lived in San Jose, Blossom Valley, Gilroy, Los Altos. I work this market every single day. I've lived in this market, and I'm going to walk you through the 5 things actually moving the needle. Number 5 is the one that's going to decide whether your home goes up or down in value over the next 2 years. So let's go. I'm not going to pretend I know what's happening in Sacramento or San Diego. I'm telling you what I see on the ground in Silicon Valley. And what I'm seeing right now is a market that looks one way on the surface and a totally different way underneath. The median price tells you one story. The actual buyer pool, the actual seller motivation, and the actual neighborhood by neighborhood data tells you something completely different. So here's what I'm covering. 5 forces: AI money, tech layoffs, inventory, insurance, and the one nobody's talking about, which is that micro-location now matters more than it has in over 20 years. Stick with me till the end. The last one is the one you actually need. A senior software engineer at OpenAI right now makes a median total comp of about $500,000 and $550,000 a year. At the top end of that, over $1.2 million. At Anthropic, median total comp is around $563,000. Senior engineers, $700K plus. Those are not executive packages. Those are senior engineers, not VPs, not founders, engineers. So why does this matter in Silicon Valley? There's a new class of buyer in this market that did not exist 3 years ago. I'm seeing them at the open houses. They're 28 to 40 years old. They work at OpenAI, Anthropic, NVIDIA, xAI, or one of the AI adjacent startups, which there's many. Their total comp is somewhere between $400K and $1 million plus. And they're buying in the $1.8 to $4 million range with 30 to 50% down. That's not the old Silicon Valley buyer. The old buyer was a Google or Apple staff engineer with 8 to 15 years at one company, sitting on appreciated RSUs, buying in Cupertino, Saratoga, Los Altos. That buyer still exists, but the AI buyer is younger, cash richer, and willing to look in places the older buyer wouldn't. Willow Glen, Cambrian, and even Almaden. 3 of my last 4 open houses in the 1.8 to 2 million range had at least one couple show up where both partners worked in AI. A year or 2 ago, that was rare. Now it's becoming the default. The buyer pool at the top of this market is more concentrated in AI than it's ever been, and most sellers don't realize who's actually walking through their door. Which means, if you're selling, the way you market your home matters. The AI buyer, they're not reading the print flyer. They're scanning Zillow at midnight. The home that wins is the one that shows well on a phone screen. That's a completely different listing strategy than what worked 5 years ago. The bottom line, the top of the Silicon Valley buyer pool has more money, less patience, and different priorities than it did 24 months ago. If you're selling, you have to know who's coming through the door. And if you're buying, you need to know who you're bidding against. Okay, so here's the other side to that. While AI labs are paying engineers $1 million a year, the rest of tech is being cut to the bone. Quarter 1 of 2026 alone, 52,000 tech jobs were cut. By April, we've already seen 62,000. That's 71% of the entire 2025 layoff total in the first 4 months of the year. Meta announced 8,000 cuts in April, roughly 200 of those right here, Burlingame and Sunnyvale. Microsoft put 8,750 US employees on voluntary retirement. Oracle, 30,000 globally. Amazon, 16,000 in quarter 1 alone. Salesforce, 4,000 customer support roles. Intel is still bleeding from 24 and 25. These are not the entry-level cuts. The people getting hit the hardest are senior staff and principal-level engineers with 7+ years at one company. That's the exact buyer profile that's been propping up Saratoga, Cupertino, and Los Altos for the last decade. And here's a data point that really matters. The median time to hire for a senior IC role in the Bay Area went from 38 days in Q3 of last year to 67 days in Q1 of this year. That is a brutal jump. People who used to land in 5 weeks are now job searching for over 2 months. And sometimes it's even a lot more. So what does this do to real estate? 2 things simultaneously. 1, there's a chunk of the move-up market that just froze. The family who's going to sell their Cambrian house and buy an Almaden, they might be the spouse of someone who just got laid off from Meta. They're not moving. They're not even calling me back. They're waiting 6 months to see what happens with the offer letter. 2, there's pressure selling starting to show up. Not foreclosures, nothing like 2008, but people who took a senior package at Microsoft or Salesforce and decided the math doesn't work in California anymore, they're listing quietly. And those listings are starting to soften specific micro markets. Stack number 1 and number 2 together, you have AI money pouring in at the top of the market and traditional tech middle management getting squeezed at the same time. That is not a uniform market. That is a market splitting in 2, which is exactly why I'm telling you the surface level statistics are lying to you. The median price for Santa Clara County is $1.6 million, give or take. That number is the average of a market that is roaring at the top and softening in the middle. Real quick, if you're watching this and wondering what your home is actually worth in this market, not the Zestimate, not what your neighbor sold for 2 years ago, but right now on your block, what is the exact buyer pool? I do that analysis for free. No pressure, no follow-up calls unless you ask for them. Text me at the number that's up on the screen and I'll pull comps for your specific block. That's it. Okay, back to it. Number 3, inventory. Here's where it stands as of last month. Santa Clara County had about 1,032 single-family homes on the market. The long-term average since 2000, 2,700. We are at about 38% of normal inventory. But, and this is important, inventory is up 6.2% over last year. Pending sales are up over 10%. Condos are up almost 13% in inventory. The market is not stuck, it's loosening. So what does this mean? For the last 3 years, sellers have had all the leverage because there was almost nothing on the market. Buyers had to write 5 offers, waive contingencies, and overpay to win a house. That dynamic is starting to shift. Not flipped, shifted. Days of inventory is at 39 days. The long-term average is 89. So homes are still selling fast, way faster than normal, but the absolute panic of 22 and 23 has cooled. Sale to list price ratio dropped from 106.8% to 105.4%. That's not a crash. That's a small breath. Buyers got back a little bit of leverage. If you've been waiting to buy, this is the first window in 6 years where you actually have a real shot at a home with reasonable terms. You're still competing, but you're not getting steamrolled. If you're a seller, you need to price right. The old strategy of list low and let the offer stack up still works in some neighborhoods, but it doesn't work everywhere. We're seeing the price reductions in pockets that didn't see price reductions last year. And that brings me to number 4. Number 4 is insurance. And I have to be honest with you, this is the one I get asked about the least, and it's affecting the most homeowners I know. California's FAIR Plan, the state's insurance program of last resort, is raising rates by an average of 30%. That hit is rolling out in 2026, and the bigger problem is who's being forced onto FAIR Plan in the first place. We're talking about entire communities. There's a Bay Area city, Clayton, where 215 homeowners in a single zip code got non-renewed by their private carriers and pushed into FAIR Plan. 215 homes, one zip code. That's not a one-off, that's a pattern. So where does this hit in Silicon Valley? This is the part where I want to be precise with you. The FAIR Plan crisis hits hardest in wildfire-exposed areas. So in our market, Almaden Valley, especially the foothills, the hills above Los Gatos, Saratoga's western edge, part of Cupertino backing up to the open space, anywhere in the WUI zone, which is the wildland urban interface. If your home is in one of these zones, you've probably already gotten a letter from your carrier, or you will. If you're in the Flat Valley floor, San Jose proper, Santa Clara, Sunnyvale, Central Cupertino, Central Willow Glen, you're most likely insulated, but not immune. Premiums are going up everywhere. So what does this do to home values? Two homes that look identical on Zillow can have a $15,000, $20,000, or even $30,000 annual insurance gap, depending on which side of the fire zone line you sit on. That gap shows up at the closing table. Buyers are now asking on day one, what's the insurance situation? If your home is in a zone where coverage is hard to get, buyers will walk. Not negotiate, walk. I've seen it happen this year already. So if you're a seller in a fire adjacent area, get your insurance situation figured out before you list. Get quotes, know your numbers, have an answer when the buyer's agent asks. Because if you're scrambling to explain it on the spot, the deal's dead. This is why two streets that used to comp the same don't comp anymore. The street that's half mile down the hill out of the fire zone just became more valuable than the street up the hill with the same view, same year built, same square footage. It's not cosmetic, it's structural. Insurance is now a permanent line on the value equation, which sets us up for number 5. Number 5, the big one, the one I'm building this whole video around. Micro-location now matters more than it has in 20 years. Stack everything I just told you. AI money concentrating at the top, layoffs hitting the middle, inventory loosening, insurance repricing risk block by block. All 4 of those things together are creating something I haven't seen in this market in my entire life. 2 homes that are 5 blocks apart can now be in completely different markets. So for example, Willow Glen, the original Willow Glen, north of Willow Street, right next to Lincoln Avenue, is its own market. South Willow Glen is a different market. A year ago, those 2 markets were trending together. Right now, they're not. Cambrian closer to Los Gatos, so the west side of Camden, is one market. Cambrian closer to Branham, east side of Camden, is another. The price per square foot gap has widened, not narrowed. Almaden, the flats are one market. The foothills are another. And inside the foothills, the Fair Plan zone is a third market. 3 different markets in one neighborhood, and this is happening everywhere. Evergreen versus Silver Creek, Berryessa versus Alum Rock, North San Jose versus Central. The county-wide statistics literally cannot describe what's happening because the variation inside the county is bigger than the variation between the county and the next one over. So if you're a buyer using Zillow's estimate to figure out what to offer, you're getting the average of 5 different submarkets and a guess. You're going to overpay on the wrong side of a line or underbid on the right side. And if you're a seller, pricing based on what your friend got 2 years ago, you're working from a number that no longer reflects your actual block. You might leave $50,000 on the table, or you might just sit on the market for 90 days because you priced for the wrong micro market. This is why generic real estate advice fails right now. This is why you need someone who works one specific market every single day, who knows which side of which street the insurance lines run through. That, just to be totally honest with you, is what I do. All right, let's recap. 5 forces repricing Silicon Valley right now. 1, AI money is creating a new top-tier buyer pool that didn't exist 3 years ago. 2, tech layoffs are simultaneously squeezing the middle off the market, especially the move-up family. 3, inventory is still low, but it's loosening, and buyers finally have a little leverage. 4, insurance is repricing risk. Neighborhood by neighborhood, and the Fair Plan crunch is here. 5, micro-location matters more than it has in over 20 years. Generic data is lying to you. So if you've gotten value from this, hit subscribe. I post videos like this every single week, breaking down what's actually happening in Silicon Valley. No spin, no hype. And if you're thinking about buying or selling in the next 12 months, or you just want to know what your home is actually worth on your block in this market with these forces, text me. The number's on the screen. I do free block level market analysis for anyone in Santa Clara County. See you guys on the next one.